The news we've all been waiting for is finally out. We have reached a deal to sign ESTEVAO WILLIAN. In today's video, we have some big, massive stories to get through, and I really mean it this time, so I hope you guys enjoy today's video. If you do, show us some love. As we're getting closer to what's set to be a very exciting summer window, I want to see how you guys are feeling, so hit that like button. Let's try and be ambitious and get 3K likes today. I believe in all of you. Sit back, relax, and let's get through today's latest reports. Now, we have a very quick report to get out the way first, courtesy of Liquid, but at the moment, Strasbourg are having doubts over the young goalkeeper in Belarus. Now, essentially, this keeper was thrust into the limelight last season as Strasbourg sold their experienced goalkeeper in Chelse to Nottingham Forest on deadline day. Now, Strasbourg fans have been quite vocal and critical of the new strategy that's been at their club currently, with some fearing that they're rushing things too much by introducing young players and kicking out all the experience that had been guiding them and helping them over consecutive seasons, and I can kind of understand that. But regardless, it seems like the keeper Strasbourg are turning towards could be Gabriel Slonina. Now, Gabriel Slonina had a very good season in Belgium, but his loan club in Open got relegated on the final day of the season, so naturally it makes sense that we are set to find a new move for him, and personally, I prefer for him to be within our model, within our umbrella. I feel that's a safer way to develop him. A league that's renowned for giving young players opportunities could be the best experience to get proper European experience for him. I mean, at only 20 years old, let's not forget when we signed him from Chicago Fire, he had like over 50 appearances between the age of 17 to 19. He's got an international cap, and last summer pre-season, Pochettino actually said that Slonina has the potential to be one of the greatest goalkeepers this generation, but he must be developed properly. And I feel like him going to Strasbourg, that could be the best way to assess how he performs, what he does, because the club still have big ambitions around him. They have a lot of faith within his ability, his promise, and it's at the point where we may not even sign a new goalkeeper because we are potentially earmarking Slonina to come back here and become the #1 in the foreseeable future. So I thought that's a story worth discussing. Let's see what happens there. And now we discuss the massive report breaking today, but finally, we have reached an agreement with Palmeiras to sign 17-year-old wonder kid ESTEVAO WILLIAN. Now, in terms of the final fee, that seems to be a pretty conflicting report. Now, Ramon originally broke this and stated that the total package was believed to be around 65 million euros. That's around 55 million pounds. That was corrected later on, and it was stated that it would be worth 32 million plus 25 million in add-ons. Now, Matlaw came out and stated that we're prepared to pay a fixed fee of around 29 million, nearly like 30 million pounds, plus an additional 25 million in add-on bonuses, which makes more sense. But I think the only thing that we should take from this is simply this. Now, as we've known for a long time, Palmeiras wanted to get some guarantees that they can earn at least over 40 million from the sale of ESTEVAO WILLIAN. If they can get that guarantee fee, they were actually quite flexible in terms of the, future add-ons added that could potentially make this deal rise as time goes on. But with future add-ons, of course, there's a possibility that some may never be met. That's the risk you play. And obviously, if you're a club like Palmeiras and you're saying that this is the next generational winger, then obviously, how are you going to reject future add-ons and performance-related bonuses? Like, you're not going to do that. So it's believed that we have included guarantees of 2 payments that will be received before he turns 18, with the rest of the fixed fee being paid off and spread over time. Obviously, on top of that, there are going to be some future add-ons which aren't going to be easily achievable. So imagine things like Ballon d'Or bonus, individual accolades, international performances, etc, etc. And it has also been reported that he is set to sign a 7-year contract with us. So finally, we've got the player that we've spent so much time throughout the course of this season trying to pursue. We know that recently we've stepped up our efforts even more. We've been even more aggressive to make sure that we are in the lead and we remain in the lead to get this deal wrapped up and tied down. I love the fact that under this new ownership, it seems like our popularity in Brazil is definitely growing. A lot of the top talents want to come here. Before Endrick went to Real Madrid, he accepted our proposal and would have been down to sign for us if we weren't getting put off by his fees. I'd imagine that we are probably regretting that. I can imagine we're definitely doing that. Hence why we've actually paid even more money for Esteval Willian compared to what Madrid paid to sign Endrick. But I think in the long term, this could be really exciting and be the right move. But then it comes down to how will we develop him? Because with players like this, if he is going to be like a Vinny Jr. style winger, that's going to be a journey and process over a few seasons. Now, I'm sure we're going to be excited by his talents, what he does on the ball, but there has to be that degree of patience as well too, because Vinny needed at least 3 years to show what he could finally do as he became like 21 years old. And I think obviously we're signing a kid that won't be here until next season. And when he does come, he's still a kid. We can't forget that. But he's doing some really exciting things at a young age. I think his personality, the mentality he's playing with, normally these are the things that kind of separates like talented kids from like the next great stars, right? How do you handle that pressure? How do you handle the expectations? Can you still play your game, play your football? And that's something he is showing. Now, we can't take all the highlights we're seeing from him too seriously based on the fact that he hasn't even played more than like 15 games in his career yet. He's still very, very new. His body is still growing. He's now just getting his first footsteps of life at the professional level. But I guarantee over the next 18 months, we're going to be just blown away by what he's producing for Palmeiras. The skills, they're going to improve. The dribbling is going to improve. The output is going to improve. We have to have that perspective that we're just seeing the infancy of Esteval Willian. But with just that, with the potential he has and what he can become, I can see why this is the right move to make, because we don't have the power to sign players like this in their prime. We just don't. We can't do that. I think the best strategy for us is to sign them young. But if we're doing that, all I hope and pray is that we develop them properly. I hope it won't just be hoarding talents and then hoping and praying, fingers crossed, that some make it. And then doing this like survival of the fittest thing to see like who rises to the top. It can't be like that, you know. Development is not linear. So many variables can affect what the player can potentially and eventually become in the future. But you just think that with the expectations, the hype, the money, the rigorous scouting, because we've been following this player for a very long time. It's not just over the past month. I think the club know exactly what they're doing. And I think this could be one of those signings we look back on in not in like a year's time or 2 years time, but maybe 5 years time and realize, wow, this was an incredible coup. And this was incredible foresight and vision from this ownership. So that is the Esteval Willian reports out the way. How do you feel about this man? Let us know in the comments. And now we have 2 more big stories. I'm going to discuss a report that came up from Matt Law today involving Conor Gallagher, because it seems like Aston Villa are now expressing intent to try and sign him this summer. Now, that's a very interesting story. Currently, we know that there's been nothing in developments when it comes to him signing a new contract extension. There's been no news. There's been no offers. It's believed that he is set to leave us and he'll play his final game, in which he's set to become the captain in tomorrow's game against Bournemouth. So, yeah, it's a bit crazy. It's a bit mad. Matt Law says in his report that there's belief that with Lavia returning back, Enzo coming back, and Nkunku coming back into the team, maybe Gallagher might have a more reduced role, but that comes down to the manager. That doesn't come down to the directors or the ownership. Gallagher prefers to remain here. He's fought to stay at this football club for consecutive seasons, but if he accepts his fate, he'd ideally prefer to stay in London, hence why Tottenham could be in the running. But with Aston Villa now securing Champions League football, that can change a lot of things. And I do think that Gallagher in that midfield alongside Luiz and Kamara, that could be a very dangerous midfield in the future. And we'd be strengthening a rival in the league. That is something for us to consider. Now, the report did allude to the fact that could maybe John Duran, a player that we tried to sign in January, a player that we have followed since he was playing in the MLS, could he be used as a makeshift plus money to get this Gallagher deal over the line? Because we can't forget that Aston Villa must also adhere to profit and sustainability rules this summer. But now that they have Champions League football guaranteed, I'm sure that's going to help balance their books so well. And I just cannot imagine us accepting any offer like that where we aren't earning the maximum full profit for a Conor Gallagher sale. Now, I don't really like the idea of this. I have to keep things real. If Pochettino is set to remain here, missing out on a player that's going to be so valuable for us in terms of helping us in Europe, squad depth, someone that the manager relies upon, that the players respect and rely upon. We've heard what Enzo and Caicedo have said about some of the work that Gallagher does off the ball, especially that helps the team. Is this not undermining the manager if we're so quick to sell him? Now the club, as I said earlier, they may feel that we have other replacements ready now and Gallagher's use may not be as vital, but I'm going to say it again, that is fully dependent on the manager, and we cannot forget that he has stepped up and grown a lot this season. I mean, 5 goals and 7 assists at the moment, playing a very defensive role for us. That can't be overlooked, and if I was Conor Gallagher, I'd be very, very naughty. I'd be like, you know what, I'm only going to leave here once my contract expires, because if I do that, I'm set to earn even more money on a signing on fee. I can earn an even bigger contract because there's no transfer fee attached to me, and I'd probably get the interest of bigger clubs because I become a lot more attractive available on a free. All I'm saying is if I was Gallagher, that's the tactics I'm using because I'm not going to go out so easy. But irrespective though, personally my opinion remains this. I'm not expecting Gallagher to be here in the long term. Who knows? He could make that happen for himself, but if you want to get rid of him, I see players like Andre Santos as the successor. We can't be signing another midfield player. If you're looking at Andre Santos to come back here and have a row at this club, I think it's about selling Gallagher at the right point. And is it wise to sell him off the back of a season like this when he puts in guaranteed quality performances, when we still have these young players within the network that are still growing and still need that game time? I feel like we have to be quite smart here. We have to make things more gradual, in my opinion. Maybe you keep Gallagher for 1 more year. Maybe you can agree to a contract extension just to keep his value high, because Gallagher's still young. In another year's time, he'll be like 25 years old. If he has another good season, you might earn even more money than the alleged 40 million we are hoping we can get. But even then, 40 million for a player that has 1 year left, I'm expecting interested parties to make offers less than 40 million because we don't really have much say at that point. Otherwise, we're accepting that he leaves on a free, and I just feel like we won't get the max money for Conor Gallagher. But they're my thoughts and opinions. Share yours. And now let's move on to another big story that's been coming out these past 3 days. Some big reports coming out from Argentina, and they report that we are expressing interest to sign 24-year-old Paraguayan left winger who plays for Club América Talleres in the Argentinian league, and his name is Ramon Sosa. He scored 16 goals and got 11 assists in 51 games this season for Talleres. At the moment, there's been no formal offers made, just proposals, but currently there's a lot of interest around this player. Now, last summer, CA Talleres actually rejected a $12 million offer from LA Galaxy. They believe it was too little and that they weren't going to cave in, thinking that this guy has a lot more room to grow and improve and it'll be worth more money in the future. And I think that gamble definitely played off because currently bigger clubs are looking at him. Today it's revealed that Everton and also Newcastle are expressing interest in him. And is that because of success stories like Almiron, who came from the MLS and has been a very solid winger over the past 4 seasons now. Ramon Sosa has a release clause set at around $20 million, which is around £15.6 million. And CAA Talleres are saying they will only sell once that release clause is activated, and I think that's fair, considering the level of clubs looking at him and the level of finances that these clubs have. Now, this is where the reports get quite interesting because there's this conflicting nature behind it, with some suggesting that we want to sign him for the club for next season, another suggesting that with the interest coming out from BlueLionsTV Strasbourg, maybe we could be signing him for Strasbourg. Now, I think as more reports come out, I think this will become a lot clearer with time. I see it like this too. If he was signed, he would be signed as a squad player, because let's not forget that when a lot of players are signing the windows, you're not just signing players that are going to be your first team regulars. You need to sign backups sometimes. You have to sign squad positions. And with the club still believing heavily in Mykhailo Mudryk, maybe selling Raheem Sterling, get him off the wage bill, signing a cheap alternative from a league that is really growing in popularity. You know, the Argentinian league now is really rated for the affordability in which you can buy players and just how ready these players are to play European football. I mean, we're seeing so many stories. Look at Barco at Brighton. Look at Alvarez at Man City. There's tons of examples currently. Enzo Fernandez played 6 months of football in Portugal when Benfica signed him from River Plate. So we essentially signed a player that had more experience in the Argentinian league compared to even playing for Benfica. So I do think the Argentinian league is a great league, good quality, physical, fast, and they do produce some good players. So would it surprise me if we see him as a squad player? Time will tell. But you guys want to understand, what is this guy about? Nini, I've never heard of someone like this. Are we moving a bit mad? Why not just promote one of the young players that we already own right now, like Angelo Gabriel? Is this guy better than him? I don't know about all of that, but all I know is that at 24 years old, he is seen as one of the standout players in Argentina at the moment, and he's a player that's definitely made some big strides in his development and his game. You know, he has all the skill sets and the tools, but he was criticised for his decision making in the final third, and even though he's made big improvements this season, he is still kind of underperforming in terms of expected goals and assists, but he is known for being a difference maker and a match winner, and that's because of things like his directness and his dribbling. Now, of course, he plays on the left wing, he likes to cut inside on his right foot, and he actually ranks 3rd in the league for completed dribbles. He performs about 8.13 per 90 minutes, and most of these dribbles have end products at the end. You know, he's either releasing the ball to a teammate or he's taking a shot, and I do think the best dribblers, there needs to be like some output, some productivity behind your ball carrying. It can't just be all flash and no substance. Outside of that, he's quite explosive. He gets his shots off quickly. He has a very powerful shot. He can take shots over distances. You've all seen his goal going around social media of the goal he scored from the halfway line. Incredible goal, and not every player can pull that off, right? But I think one thing that is good about him too is that with a lot of wingers, sometimes you only see what they can really do when they're playing for like smaller clubs that offer them a lot of space to play in. My thing is, when you step up for a bigger club, you're playing against an opposition that are protecting the spaces, that are minimizing them, that are sitting back, right? So what are you like playing a different game? What are you like when you don't have to rely upon just consistently being your man to show what you can offer to the team? And he is someone that is able to receive with both feet, and he can play against settled defenses, even though he may not necessarily give you the most highest pass completion numbers. But this is something that he does possess in his game. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting story. I'm not really opposed to us showing interest towards players who are playing in traditionally smaller leagues. And a part of me feels like, is this like something maybe Sam Jewell, you know, our new recruitment officer that we've hired, has been cooking up behind the scenes now? We know that he has an extensive knowledge of the South American market. And if he believes that there's a player here that is incredible for the value and the price, I mean, £15 million, that's a bargain in the modern game today. Maybe there's something to believe in. If you ask my opinion, I would not be surprised if he finds himself on loan at Strasbourg for 1 year, being under our umbrella. And then maybe if he performs, we could assess him for any squad roles in the future. That's only my opinion. So my friends, that is all the latest stories that's dropped today. Share your thoughts and opinions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course make sure you come back tomorrow for our final game of the season. Let's make the match be one of the biggest ones this year. So thanks for everything. See you tomorrow. Cool.